All right, we are live. I'm fired up. Live stream edition maybe 4, coming back from a big break. Had some technical issues we had to work through, but I am fired up for this thing. Should be exciting. Get some good interaction. Big week to bring it back. Super Bowl, everybody's fired up. Quarterback wise, great matchup. I'm going to be excited to talk about it. But this would be a fun opportunity. Interact a little bit. Already see Thomas in the house, Kevin in the house. Hopefully you guys hear me. Let me know. Give me something in the comments. Thumbs up. Let me know that this thing is working. It's a little strange to be here handling this thing solo. Want to make sure I get some feedback. So I'm not talking to myself, but I'm fired up all the way around. Got the coffee intact. A little late start over here in San Diego. For some reason the schools, hopefully the teachers are getting some education. But I'm excited. Let's see if y'all can actually hear me here. Let me see if I type something. All right, nice. It is working. Excellent. I'm fired up. This has been quite the process to get the live stream going. Like anything, try it a few times, doesn't work. Don't get too frustrated. Bounce back, get a better way. So, got better internet, got better connection. I'm excited for this thing to work. This is basically whatever we want it to be, right? So it's a little thin right now, so we can talk whatever we need to talk about. I'm excited for this Super Bowl. I really don't have, any dog in the race, so to say. So I just want a good game. And I really think it is going to be a good game. The more I watch Patrick Mahomes, this year, a little banged up for most of the year, especially early on, knee issue, not quite the same. People wondering what's going on. Lamar Jackson takes off, kind of takes some of the spotlight off of him. But when you go back and watch really the last couple months, last couple weeks, he's back to playing at that kind of beyond elite level. And it's going to be fun. I hope that he's able to make some of those plays. I think he will be able to. I think that's the matchup everybody wants to see, is kind of what the 49er front is able to do or constrict Patrick Mahomes in doing. But it should be fun. I'm really excited. If you guys have questions, please let me know. Hit me up in the comments. Make sure to get this chat going a little bit. Kevin, I know you always got something good, so come at me. Got the Cleveland making changes. Kevin in the house over there. All right, first question, Thomas. From a QB point of view, how scary is the D-line of the 49ers? So for me, it's an interesting question for a few reasons. One, they're not that scary at all. Like, as a quarterback, you don't have to block them. Like, very rarely are you going to get like a full-on clean shot where they're just going to take you out and run through your back. Those things don't usually happen. So I don't think they're that scary. I think that they're big, they're massive, huge dudes, and there's all sorts of first-round picks up there, and they are fast. And that's the thing that I think, fast, long, that it might cause some issues. For me and defensive line, Super Bowl, I think most people go back and think about that Giants defensive line that beat the Patriots and how they were just able to wreck Tom Brady's day, like just wreck the game. Honestly, and then they had to have some plays there to give themselves a chance. But that's what I think of, like a D-line just wrecking shot. But I think Andy Reid is going to be really intentional about spreading those guys out, making them run sideline to sideline, screening them to death, jet sweeping them to death, all those type of things, play action, boot, naked, move the pocket, move the launch point for Patrick Mahomes to try to nullify them. Now, I don't know if you can nullify Bosa. Like, I think when Mahomes gets out on the edge, I think that he's just got a different gear. Bosa, the young Bosa, and length, that they're just not used to handling him and his motor. And so that'll be interesting to see how they do it. But yeah, scary like they're going to hit you, like, no. But like scary as a group that they can wreck a game, wreck a Super Bowl, absolutely, 100%. Great question. All right, Kevin, 4th and 9 draw podcast. Do you have any experience with analytics? It's kind of shrouded as how analytics are used. Is it stuff like PFF, Pro Football Focus, puts out? So the analytics came into the game probably a little bit after I was done, but as far as experience with analytics, as far as like a quantitative guy, quantitative research, I think that there is uh, a lot of benefits from being able to speak the language and being able to understand and know what you can and can't pull out of raw data. And so for me, it's fascinating to see how people make sense of it, right? Because there's so much available. So for me, it just comes into it is an element, a data point, a variable in your decision making. How you use it is up to you, but I think it's fascinating to have all that information available. I know as a head coach, at the high school level, I use analytics as far as when we go for it on fourth down, field position, things like that, as far as how we approach a game, how I approach my thinking, all those things as far as, but is it shrouded like, Moneyball type thing where it's reinventing how we kind of evaluate players? Probably not yet. I think it has the capacity to get there. I think Moneyball, I think shoot 3-pointers. I think eventually it will get more into football, into the passing game as far as width of the field, spacing, things like that I know some organizations use as far as where they attack the field. And that's kind of the thing I think about, like when I see that PFF stuff about like different scatter plots or things that can show how teams attack certain teams. But in some way, it probably hasn't been as clean, but there have been many analytics used in the past. For me, I can remember explicitly before I was even a trained researcher sitting in a third down meeting on a Wednesday in the NFL, and them coming out and saying, all right, in third and long, they're going to be 50% two-man. And I'd be like, well, that's really clean. Like, that's so clean that probably not true. And then it would be like, well, how many snaps did we break down? Well, we broke down 4 games of, this team's third down. Well, how many snaps did they get in third and long in 4 games? Oh, they got 4 snaps. So they did 2 snaps to two-man, 1 snap robber, 1 snap blitz. Well, that's a pretty small sample size to pull any sort of meaningful decision. Like, yeah, they have 2-man in the bag. They also have middle field closed man in the bag. They also have some exotic pressures in the bag. So for me, it was always about sample size. It was about knowing what a defense was going to do, kind of their core, their intent, their soul, and then, what were they going to try to hit you with exotic-wise that you had to prepare for. And so that was kind of the stuff that I used. As far as what Pro Football Focus puts out nowadays, I think it's fascinating to see how NFL teams are using analytics, especially with people in the box, with real-time analytics as far as decision-making, when to go for it on fourth down, when not to go for it on fourth down. I'm probably a lot more aggressive than most people on fourth down and basically play the numbers all the time. It's a little bit easier in high school when you can just say, hey, we're going to go for it on fourth down. We don't even have a punt team. But I think for me, it makes sense to think about, when I'm thinking about using analytics in decision making, it's always about the process. What's the best choice? What's the best decision? Not necessarily the outcome. You have to be able to detach yourself from the outcome and be able to take the heat. And, you see coaches, whether it's Harbaugh in Baltimore or Belichick, back when against Peyton Manning in 2009, like, you're going to take heat for making those type of decisions. But I think that they're really meaningful and kind of are at least a little bit trailblazing to where the game is going to go, because you need those sort of edges to make things happen and make things a little bit more meaningful and give yourself an edge in how you go about the game. So, I hope that makes sense. Let me know if it does. If it doesn't, I can try to make a little bit more sense of it. I just think it hasn't impacted the game quite yet, or at least publicly, like, the NBA 3-pointer or, on base percentage. I think it could, and I think that the space that it could, I would be surprised if it isn't in the passing game, and really areas to attack and kind of formations and spreading the field both horizontally and vertically. I think that there are spaces and gaps that people, whether you're not throwing the ball deep enough, whether you're not kind of attacking certain parts of a defense, I think those things can come about. You can see them really easily in how you use analytics. But I mean, teams have self-scouted for years. Every week you're self-scouting. The self-scouting kind of has this misnomer that it only takes place during a bye week. In reality, you can run a self-scout now with 2 clicks of a button. I can run a self-scout in high school through Huddle with 2 clicks of a button and get way more information than I need. But it's one of those things where, to me, it's about taking all this raw information that's available nowadays and making sense of it. How do you actually use it to make your team better, to make the decision making better, to make your schemes better? And for me, I think that's a secret sauce that you're not going to get from a lot of people. You know, that's just me, I guess. The stream is not listed. Yeah, I don't know. Let me see if I can find a way to list it. I mean, I like you guys, the 4 of us. What do you think that means, that I have to like stream options? How did you, I know how Kevin did it. Thomas, how did you hear about this? Oh, that's why, unlisted. Dang, I'm talking to myself. Let me see how I can make it listed. That would help, wouldn't it? Thank goodness for you guys, or we'd be sitting here talking to ourselves the entire time. All right, I think I changed it to public. A lot of schoolers are going to have to go back and watch the first 20 minutes if they want something. All right, I think I changed it to public. There's always something, man. The learning curve for me is slow. Let's see what we got now. Might have to get another cup of coffee for this. All right, in the meantime, what else you guys got? Give me something. The Browns have gone all in on analytics. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I'll be honest with you, as a researcher, I don't want to say that there's a ceiling, but there seems to be like there can only be so much. I'm sure you can get into, if you're going to start like plotting positions of every single player in every single game that you scout, you know, that could be something that, you know, all of a sudden needs a team of 10 people. But I'm just not sure how many people are going to be able to use the analytic, not only create the analytics, decide what you're going to analyze, right? And so analyzing is just being able to pull things out to their absolute core. You're just kind of unpacking things to the absolute most baseline meaningful element. And what does that look like? You know, it depends on every organization. I think at some point some team will find out how to do it really well, but until then, it's one of those things where, you know, you're going to plot the same stuff that every other team is plotting. I think that there are some things about plotting the space locations of every single player and being able to go back and look at that data, but I'm not sure how, you know, beyond teaching you how better to attack a defense, that you can really do it if it's not impacting what your kind of decision making is on really crucial downs. I think is the obvious one. All right, Thomas, what you got? Football is growing in Europe quite a lot. A lot of young players are coming over to the U.S. and play college ball. Do follow stuff like this, and do you generally advise for young European QBs? Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was over in Europe, it felt like it was growing. I don't know if it necessarily felt like it was growing as fast as you would like it to grow. I think, you know, the obvious things are for European players or for non-US players to come over and play more interior positions as just a big guy, as like a play defensive line, play fullback, play offensive line. It's a lot harder, I think, to get those skill positions, especially the quarterback position, just because the coaching, the availability of all those skills, it's just difficult. If you don't have somebody who can teach you at a high level, you feel like you reach a ceiling a little bit on your own. I'm sure there's a lot of people who watch the channel who kind of feel like, gosh, if I had some better coaching, or if I had access to better coaching, my experience would be a lot better. I'd be a lot better player. And that's probably true for a lot of players at any position at any level. But for me, you know, I would tell people who aspire to play American football and that aren't in the US to find a way to get here, to find a way to make connections here, to find a way to bring some, you know, people who have more experience at higher levels to those groups. I know that, you know, in Europe, there are a bunch of former American players that go over there to coach, play. You know, there are some great leagues all across Germany, or all across Europe, but I know that for sure in Germany, that was where I spent the majority of my time. And so, all right, we're loading up here now. Appreciate Thomas and Kevin for making this thing, changing it up here for me. I appreciate it. Cam, here we go. Hey, how was coaching in high school, Ben? And what can translate from the league to high school? Because most of what I see in high school is mirrored to college ball. Yeah, I mean, what I tell our players, I've enjoyed coaching at high school. I think it's a great opportunity to make an impact, and I don't have to move. You know, I like it here. And so for me, I really don't. I try to talk to them like young adults, you know, people who are starting to come into their own as a people and as a person. And so I really don't dumb it down very much. I don't consider dumbing it down. The schemes that we run, many of them are the exact same schemes I ran in the league. Now I cut down the volume by a lot, obviously. We're a lot thinner in fact, we don't even have a playbook. Everything is shocking video kind of installation. And so it's thinner, but what we do, I teach it the exact same way that it's taught in the NFL, or it was at least taught to me. And so I try to teach it at a high level and hold our people accountable. Oh, don't do that to me. Oh, there we go. Back. All right. Lost it for a second. Get nervous. I think my camera turns off after 30 minutes for some reason. But for me, I don't dumb it down at the high school level. Just thin it down, and then because I think that the players want to hear those stories, they want to know what it's like at the highest level, and I think it adds to, you know, what we maybe can do that's unique. Where I coach at Patrick Henry, to be able to kind of bring those kind of pro elements, even if we don't necessarily run like a pro offense, the concepts that we're teaching are the exact same. They can see them on Sunday, they can see them on Saturdays. In high level college football, it's no secret, you know, as far as what these concepts are. You just have to have someone who could teach it. And then I think I bring a little bit of idiosyncratic credit because I was in so many different offenses. I can tell you that, you know, they call it this at one place, this at another place, this at another place. And it's, you know, I know it's true. I have the playbook, you know, it's those type of things. All right, what else here? I'm getting some good questions. I appreciate it. Keep them coming. I'm going to do my best to make it happen. If I see anybody with a logo, oh, there you, yeah, I see a Cam already. I got you. I appreciate the support. Anytime you see a logo, that is someone who is a member of the channel. I really appreciate that, and looking forward to seeing those colors change too as you become a member. More and more months you get different colors and that stuff to be a way to kind of differentiate yourself in these chats. So Nacho Ventura, I like it. What's your favorite play? The next pass play. That's an easy one. No, I don't know if I have a favorite play. I think my favorite play gets the ball to our best player. Like, I mean, I know that's a little bit aloof and around, but honestly, like, I don't have one thing that I'm like, gosh, I wish I could just throw slants or hitches, or I wish we could just throw deep bombs all the time. Like, I want the play that gets the ball to our best player as often as possible. So that's always my mindset as a play caller. And if we've done that a bunch and we want to spread it around, then we got to find other ways to do it. But that's where my mind is always at as a play caller. All right. I think Anthony Gordon might be a gem. Yeah. Senior Bowl. Oh, we got some Italy in the house. I appreciate that, Alex. I love the international flavor. I know I'm not doing this as a great time for a lot of people who have jobs where they can't sit there and watch a live stream. But for me, you know, it's fun to be able to make this happen. And it times out great for me right now. I'm going to do my best to try to make these things happen a little bit more in the evening. But as far as, you know, consistency, as I work this thing into the off season, it's probably going to be sometime around this time. You know, I hope that works. Do you think the Lions should draft Tua? Oh, hold on, I missed a question there. Third question. If you could throw to one current NFL wide receiver, who would it be and why? Ooh, probably Julio Jones, just because I think he's the best in the game. You know, that would be, you know, he makes it look easy. There's a big difference. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but everybody in the NFL is good. Like, even if you get invited to a camp, you're pretty good. Now, if you're on a roster, you have to be really good. Now, if you're a starting NFL wide receiver, you got a lot going for you. You're a burner, you're big, you're fast, you're durable, you're all sorts of things. And then to be an elite one of those guys, you got to be crazy special. Like, you got to do something out of the box whether it's your change of direction, your quickness, your explosiveness, your height, your vertical, your speed, all those things. And so, probably the other one now that I think about it, but I'm afraid this kind of comes back to like recency bias, is to throw to what's his face at the Chiefs, Hills. No, yeah, Tyreek. And so the cheetah. I mean, I would throw into guys who are that fast. I remember throwing to Dante Stallworth for the first time. That was the first time I threw to someone that was like out of your mind fast, or like fast for the NFL. He's like a 4.2, 4.3 guy. We came out the same year in New Orleans. And that was like, I felt like every time I was throwing it to him, I was throwing it to like a Porsche or something. It was just, everything was fast, explosive, and it's a lot of fun to throw it to those guys. Should the Lions draft Tua? I love Tua. I think people are hung up on the injury thing, rightfully so, and maybe the track record of being someone who struggles to make it through some of these games. But for me, watching him, I mean, who can forget that national championship game? But just the accuracy, the consistency, the decision making. I think he's a can't miss kind of quarterback. I think that this draft class is going to be fascinating. In fact, I'm really excited to kind of dig down into it this year. If you know how I can get college film, I've had people reach out to me with bits and pieces of it, but I continue to look for more and more opportunities to get the all-22 for all these, especially quarterbacks, potential draft picks that are coming out, looking to get into that kind of evaluation game a little bit this spring. I think people who watch this channel would enjoy that. So let me know if you know how I can get that film. See what else we got. Hello, I want to coach football, but I have no experience in coaching or football besides watching. What advice would you give me? Nicholas, you got to go volunteer. You got to reach out to your local coach. Maybe reach out to who you look around your community, your area, somewhere maybe near where you work or where you live. Reach out to that coach. Say you're willing to do anything. You want to learn. You want to give back. You want to teach. You're there to kind of provide a great experience for the students. You want to make an impact through football, and you're willing to do whatever it takes. And then you just become a sponge, soak up everything you possibly can, and go from there. But there's no easy way in. You got to be willing to kind of swim against the current for a little while and do kind of the grunt work stuff and go from there, and hope you get lucky as far as moving up and seeing if you even like it. And so I love when people who are passionate about making an impact reach out to me and are in the area and then want to be a part of it. But it's a lot. Like, the time commitment is a lot. And many people don't have that kind of availability to make that kind of impact. What else we got here? Oh man, we're getting some good ones. Captain Trips, I like it. 3x1. Should the Titans pay Tannehill or Henry first? I don't even know if that's the right question for me. I'm not sure if I'm going to pay either of those guys. I know that sounds silly, but Ryan Tannehill played obviously next level the second half of the season, and I mean, beyond commendable, like really cool on many levels. And Derrick Henry is a 18-wheeler trying to tackle him, but I'm not paying any running back. I'm just not, and I'm not paying any quarterback who hasn't shown consistency at the highest level. And so, to me, Tannehill deserves another opportunity, deserves the opportunity to be the guy. But again, like, pay him like they think Dak is going to get paid, or pay him like Patrick Mahomes is going to get paid soon. Absolutely not. Like, I'm not sure I would do either of them. I don't know if the Titans are going to be able to replicate, what they had going this year. Let's see what else we got. Forgive me here. Oh, we got Denmark in the house. Appreciate it. Alex, I appreciate that. I'm trying my best to make it meaningful and be able to learn at the same time, but also make it fun and kind of entertaining for a whole kind of big section of people who play, people who coach, people who are just fans, people who are just learning the game. And so it's fun for me to try to touch each of those kind of niches or segments. What other sports did you play growing up? And when did you know football was what you wanted to pursue more? Rockwell. Good question. I played everything. In fact, I still try to play everything. The only sport I really still play is pick up hoops. And so I'm not going to lie, my game is at its peak right now. I was never a great basketball player, and I'm still not sure I'm a great basketball player, but I played everything growing up like most kids, and I still don't necessarily think of myself ever as a football player. I kept playing football. So basketball, soccer, baseball, all those things in high school. Baseball, would love to have played baseball in college, just didn't happen, and just kept playing football. And so it was never something where I was like, you know what, I'm going to only focus on football. Although I did 1 year not play baseball in high school to do focus on football, and that was a mistake. And then I came back to play the rest of the time. But for me, it was always like, I just wanted to play everything. I think of myself more as like a competitor than, a football player. Whether we're playing, flip cup or quarters or, anything. I'm a pool, darts, video games, like horse. I'm going to try to compete. And that's what I like doing. I like competing. It just happened to be football. And the reason why it was so much fun for me with football is because it's so much fun to compete at the highest level, like against other great competitors. Not that I was a great competitor, but like that the best of the best makes that competition that much more fulfilling and fun. And that's kind of one of the things that I miss the most is just the elite competition. And that's kind of what is fun with high school football a little bit, because there are some people who are so passionate, care so much, that you can get kind of a little taste of that. So great one. Netherlands, love it. I'm doing well, man. I appreciate it. I love the kind of international flavor of this thing taking over. So this is fun, man. I'm glad it's working too. I appreciate every once in a while you guys letting me know what the technology is going here, just because for me, I don't have a whole lot of experience with this live thing. Let's see if I can I think I made some unique emojis here for the members. We got some Madden people out there, some gamers. I should do a Madden video. I'm really not that good. I think my kid would smoke me, Brock. It would be bad, and it would crush my fragile ego already. What should I make for breakfast, bro? Just go coffee, Nick. You good? Keep it slim. Maybe do hit like a 24-hour fast or something. Mix it up. Originally, hey, I appreciate it. Just keep the questions coming. If I don't get to it, I apologize. I'll try my best to absolutely do it. If you're looking about volunteering, Nick, you just go and you talk to the head football coach and you say you're willing to do whatever it takes, work at any level. They're obviously probably, when they don't know you and you're a stranger, they're probably going to put you at the lowest levels possible. But you never know. Every program's different. Some programs, coaches coach all the levels. It's not always, a cookie cutter way that we do it. And so that's just the easiest way to make sure that you're able to. And even if you go and volunteer and you don't like it, that's a great thing about it, right? You're not locked into a contract. You go find somewhere else where you're always trying to learn. And really, for me, I try to make it for our coaches. You'd probably have to ask the coaches, but I try to make it as meaningful an experience as possible to be able to learn a little bit of ball. I'm not going to tell them that I'm like their tutor or, teacher by any means, but we're trying to learn together. And so that's the other thing I always want especially coaches who aspire to coach at higher levels or continue to get better or get more responsibility. It's almost it is the role of the head coach to kind of create those platforms to allow those coaches to thrive and to improve, just like you want your players to improve and thrive. And so for me, most football coaches are used to people coming at them saying, hey, I'd love to be involved. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Where can I start? Where can I help? So that's kind of the main thing I would do. Appreciate it, Eric. Everything except the all caps. The all caps, man. It's a lot for me. All right, Alberto, what do you remember from your experience living in Europe? Man, I had some great times at NFL Europe. I really did. Many that are not shareable, but many that are. And so just the people that you play with. Because for me as a quarterback, I got to play, right? Like I got to be the quarterback for a long time. As the backup, you're always kind of the second fiddle. You never really get an opportunity to lead on the field. You lead other ways. You lead in the meeting room, in the building, all those things, but you don't get to influence on the field. And so that's what I loved about playing in Europe. Met some great friends, still close with a bunch of guys that I played with in Europe. Probably my favorite thing is the second time I went over to Europe, my brother was playing rugby in France in the similar season in the spring, and so he would train to my games and I would train with him to his games, and I'd be able to basically take a fine or something to miss a day and just go travel in France. And so it was pretty cool, considering I had been in the league for 5 years, had to go back over to Europe to kind of revitalize my year, and really gave me my second half of my career. It really did. Mike Martz saw my Europe film, and that's kind of the reason I was able to get 4 or 5 more years in the league. And so Europe will always hold a special spot in my heart, especially NFL Europe, just because it's such a great developmental league, and it's a bummer it's gone. And you know, I get why it's gone, but always looking, especially it's fun to see some developmental leagues sprout up in the States, but the European element, it just, for me, it was great as growth of a person, be able to get off the domestic kind of myopic, you know, United States kind of hyper American view of everything and be able to get just a wider world view. It was great, man. It was a super privilege and still fortunate to be able to do it. Oh man, Nick, you hit me with the Eli question right out the gate. Oh, Northern Ireland, nice. So Eli, is he a Hall of Famer? Yeah, bro. Yes. Like I don't really understand the argument against it. You know, I get the stats, but for me, you know, Eli impacted the NFL. He did. Just those 2 games against the Patriots changed the dynamic, changed the story of the NFL. So he's a Hall of Famer. It's just, it doesn't help that he's got a, you know, comes from a great kind of family and everybody recognizes the name. All those things play into it, you know, and it's hard for me to say that as somebody who's in San Diego, and San Diego's still pissed at what the Mannings did. But, you know, probably if you ask Philip right now, they probably made the right decision. So can't be that mad at him. Oh, the Super Bowl pick. We're getting close. Coach Mackey. Yes. Love it. If y'all haven't checked out Coach Mackey's YouTube page, you definitely should. He's over there creating great content for coaches. I appreciate it. I try to get over there. I think I mentioned it to him at one point, but when I was installing our offense at high school, I looked at a handful of things that they were doing, especially about the air raid, about mesh concept that I just had never played before and was fascinated by it, and provided a lot of knowledge for me. And so I just appreciated it. Good stuff. Checking in as he's grinding at the school. Make sure I can try to get to all these questions here as we crank this thing up. No, I mean, the Eli thing is difficult. It's not as cookie cutter as I probably made it out to be, but for me, he is more, because less about the stats and more about the impact that he's had on the league. And what I mean by that is in New York, the last name, the 2 Super Bowls. I mean, it is what it is. I also think he's just handled himself with great class. He also beat me up one year when I was starting in San Francisco. That was a tough one. I think I probably lost that game more than he won it, but it was fun for me. Very true, Ryan. I agree. You really can't. And it is tough as an Eagles fan. We got some Brazil in the house. Man, it is cool to see. It's honestly one of the things that has kind of surprised me the most about this channel, besides for how much fun I'm having with it, is just the impact, like how wide it is. Not the impact, but the width that YouTube touches, and people who care about football and want to know a little bit about it, and maybe the little bit that I can provide. It's just fascinating, and to see the world impact, man, I really appreciate y'all checking out. Really cool. I'm glad the live stream is working. I am. Everything goes out to the wandering DP, my brother. So he stayed up last night for a while, making sure this thing worked. I'm glad it did. Hopefully it's coming in clear. You know, he's all about that cinematic look, and so I appreciate his support. And all good. Jay Snow with a coverage question. I like it. Best concepts to beat cover 1. You guys are going to hate me with this answer, but throw it to your best guy. It's not that people overcomplicate these things. Like, you know, get a runaway route. What I mean by a runaway route is, and this is just me talking more philosophical football, I always want routes that are going towards the end zone. I don't want to throw a lot of hitches. I don't want to throw a lot of quick outs. I don't want to throw curls, especially in man coverage, because someone's coming downhill at your back. I want to throw things going to the end zone where you catch it, break a tackle, and score. It's a lot harder to catch a curl or a hitch and score than it is to catch a slant and score, or a bang post and score, or a go route and score, or a seam and score. And so those are the things that I love. And then specialty things about cover 1, obviously the rub routes, any sort of pick. I'm a big fan of switch exchanges at the line of scrimmage. So any concept that and when I say we, I mean the high school that I coach at, we install concepts. We also install this concept called switch, where we basically switch the releases of anything. So say it's just normal smash, a smash concept, which is a hitch and a corner. So if we call switch, all that does is invert the release. So now the outside guy runs the corner, the inside guy runs the hitch. And we can do that for every single concept we have. And so I like doing those type of things in cover 1, especially if it's bump cover 1 and the DBs are at the same level. Most good DBs, you'll see offset as kind of a key indicator that it's cover one. They won't be on the same plane, so they don't get rubbed. But, those rubs and picks, they never get called. Cover two sink. What is cover two sink? Someone tell me what the sink part of it is. Alex, let me know what the sink part is, and I'll try to do my best. We probably call it something else. Oh, the go QB at Brock is definitely Tom. There is no argument for me. I grew up as a Steve Young fan, but I mean he's put himself in a different category. Guatemala linebacker. Oh no, defensive side. I appreciate it, Pablo. I appreciate it, man. Very cool. Deion Sanders said too many people are getting into the Hall of Fame. Any thoughts on that? Zero thoughts. I don't really understand. Like he would. It's like less than 1% of people who play in the league. I don't know. It can't be less than that. I don't know why you would want less people. If anything, I would think you would want more people to promote the game, to celebrate the game. To me, it's just and I don't know Deion at all, but it's just a classic kind of misunderstanding of the purpose of the Hall. To me, it's to honor the game, it's to promote the game, it's to kind of celebrate some people's heroes that they looked up to and be able to extend their careers and relevancy. And so I don't know why you'd want to make it less exclusive. It just doesn't make intuitive sense to me. What else we got here? Win the coin toss, defer or receive. What, Jay? Watch your mouth, bro. We always receive. Although I did defer a number of times this year to my defensive coordinator's dismay. That's just because we onside kick every time, and I like onside kicking. I think if you're at the pro level, you defer every single time. There's a lot. To me, I think of the game in chunks. And so this is probably not what you anticipated with this answer, but for me, I'm always thinking in chunks and possessions. And so the most important part of the game for me is obviously whatever part you're in, but how I chunk it is kind of the start of the game. You gotta kind of understand the first couple series, you're gonna be feeling each other out. Then you get into your best stuff, and then you have basically the 4 minutes right before halftime. You want to finish the game scoring with the ball, and you want to get the kickoff. So you basically get 2 possessions in one. To me, is how I think one of the secret sauces to how the Patriots have been so good for so long. They've been so great in kind of flipping at the end of that first half. It's not just the end of games. I really think of situational football, not just the end of game, it's end of halves. So end of first half is just as important as the end of the game. You know why? Because 7 points is 7 points. It doesn't matter if you scored in the first series, right before half, right at the end of the game. Yes, they're more meaningful if it's tied, but those 7 points at the end of the half are one of the most crucial parts of any situational game. And I think the Patriots have been the best at that for a really long time because they are intentional about their situational football. And so for me, that plays into the defer element of it. I would love to receive the ball every single time, but for us, at least when I'm coaching in high school, we're onside kicking every single play. So I almost think of a defer, a kick, saying you're going to kick is basically, with the defer is saying, we're going to get the ball. That's how our mindset is. We want to be that aggressive. What else we got here? The Hall of Fame is a museum and should be treated as such. Ryan, I don't know, man. I've been to the Hall of Fame. It's all right. I've been to some pretty nice museums. Poland in the house. That's exciting. I'm glad they've helped, Tony. Very cool. I live about a half hour from the hall. Need to do it again soon. Yeah, you do, Kevin. Get over there. Bieniemy. This is a good question. Well, what do you think about Bieniemy's Chiefs offense coordinator? Every play is designed to score. I love that. I really do. Bieniemy to me is a few different things. It's funny. I remember Eric Bieniemy, the player. I want to say, I'm going to say 90% positive that I got Eric Bieniemy's autograph when he was with the Chargers, and he came up to scrimmage the Niners when they used to do their training camp at Sierra at Community College in Sacramento. Almost positive. I'm pretty sure I probably have those cards somewhere in my collection of Eric Bieniemy autograph, because I'm pretty sure I told him, because when I was in Minnesota with did he come in? He came in with, after Tice got fired, Childers came in, and Bieniemy, Eric was the running backs coach. And so, and I, granted, 15 years ago, right? Like 2006, 2007 is when this was. And I'm sure he's grown a lot from then. But back in that day, you know, he was not necessarily my type of dude. And what I mean by that is just like a yeller, a screamer, you know, I wouldn't say intimidator, but like guys, just his running backs, like I'm not telling him anything he probably doesn't know, not that he's watching this, but you know, I don't think his running backs necessarily loved playing for him or with him. And so, you know, to me, it's a bummer that he doesn't get an opportunity to be a head coach. He's obviously earned it because of what they've done in Kansas City. And I don't know the intricacies of like, does he call the plays? Is he just, you know, regurgitating what, you know, Reed is telling him in the headset? And so I don't know who calls what, or if he's only doing third down or first down or whatever. But, you know, you would hope that he gets an opportunity soon. But I can just tell you anecdotally, you know, it was rough. And it was, you know, granted, it was a long time ago too. So probably Eric Bieniemy. There you go. Eric Bieniemy, isn't it? Oh, Joey. Hit me with the Norv Turner, Ron Rivera. Why are so coaches good and others aren't? It's a, you know, the whole question of why some guys are great and some guys aren't. You know, it's to a certain degree, it comes back to why some players are great and some players aren't. For me, it's a combination of a lot of things. Obviously, capacity, you know, how you lead, how you influence a group of men, I think changes when you're a head coach to a coordinator. But it's that, you know, it's all of those things, right? It's no easy thing. And so the other thing I think about is there's so much of it is luck. You know, when I look at these young coaches and, you know, I kind of look at to a little bit like at what Josh McDaniels has done or decided not to do. So much of these jobs are tethered to quarterbacks, in my opinion. So if you take a job as a head coach, if you're the hot offensive coordinator, you know, like say, you know, you're Adam Gase back when he's with the Denver as the offense coordinator, or you're the hot up and coming coordinator, and you take a job as a head coach. Well, you've got a pretty good gig as the offense coordinator. Obviously, you probably have a pretty good quarterback. Now you're going to a team that has no head coach, probably because they don't have a good quarterback. So unless you have the first pick and you want to roll with a rookie, which I think is proven to be a lot easier, you know, the last 4 or 5 years. But the reason those jobs are open is because the quarterback play hasn't been good. And so it's this fine line about like what, you know, why some coaches work, why some coaches don't. I think it's a lot. The more meaningful looks are why do some coaches, the coaches that fascinate me are the guys who have quarterbacks and fail. What I mean by that is like the Chargers. You know, for me, for a long time, Phillip was one of the best players in the league. And whether he is or isn't anymore, you know, I think obviously hasn't played up to his standard recently. But for a long time, he was one of the best pure passers in the league. And they could never just find a combination that worked for him and them at the head coach position. And so those are the interesting things for me. It's a lot less interesting to say like, you know, what happened at Washington? You know, like, well, they haven't had a quarterback. You know, what happened in Miami? Like, they haven't had a quarterback. And so when you're not sound and set at the quarterback position, it's just really hard to do anything successful over a long period of time, let alone be a head coach. You know, that's just, it's so tough. Oh, you want a mechanics video? I know I was thinking about doing a mechanics kind of series, a throwing mechanics series this year. It's a lot, you know, I'm not sure if you all know this, but it's easier for me to set up this kind of studio. It's set up. I don't have to worry about it that much. I click a couple buttons and it starts and we're good to go. And now I've, you know, got my hands around this live stream thing. It'll be something I hope to continue, but to go out and do like a mechanics on the field type thing, I think that's probably where the channel is going eventually. Some tutorials like that type of stuff that I think, you know, just again, I'm always trying to create content that I think is interesting and that I wish would have existed when I was coming up. And so if I was a young quarterback and I couldn't afford, you know, to go to some quarterback guru or crazy camps, you know, how else could you learn? How else? And this platform is perfect, right? And so for me, I've done a handful of searches on YouTube just to see what's out there for throwing mechanics and don't necessarily love the content or believe in what I'm seeing. And so I'm probably going to get into that at some point, but I like this setup. It's so easy. It's chill. All right, what else? Give me something good. Oh, Nick in the house. Yes. Appreciate it. Love the badge, Nick. Love seeing members in the live stream. Get really excited about it. In fact, I'm going to try to do a member-only live stream tomorrow. So the way that it is set up now, I think it's like the low rung is like $199 a month just to show some support for the channel. You get the badge, easy for me to identify, make sure that I, comment back every single time, reach out, and then I'm gonna try to create some cool like one-off content. And so the live stream tomorrow, hopefully it's more than just, Nick and I having to talk to myself, but I'm excited for that thing to continue to grow. I think it's a cool opportunity to provide some kind of unique content, unique ways to kind of get access to a little bit deeper dives on certain things. So not quite the Patreon community, but still really cool, especially over here with these live streams. Easy for me to be able to spot you, be able to make sure I give you a shout out. So I appreciate that, Nick. All right, what else we got? Cover 2 sink, playing Madden where the corners sink back against deeper routes rather than play the corner in the flat. Yeah, see, you guys are quoting Madden. I don't know this Madden. Yeah, to me, cover 2 sink sounds just like quarters, or a variation of quarters. I don't know. If I was playing cover 2 sink, I'd probably throw the check down. Deshaun Watson, let me see what I got. I love some Deshaun Watson. Top 3 quarterbacks. If you're him, do you think you request a trade because of Bill O'Brien? Man, Bill O'Brien is getting heat, and deservedly so. I don't pretend to understand what's going on with some of the owners and who they decide makes the decision as far as personnels, but how you go from making some of the decisions about in-game personnel to being kind of assigned to a general manager job, those jobs are so special. It's just fascinating to me how something like that happens, but more power to him. Well, honestly, what I think is more power to Bill O'Brien, like how he manipulated that. But if I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm trying to do everything I possibly can to get out of there. That's just the truth. That's the absolute truth. Every once in a while, my camera stops. Let me make sure this thing doesn't die on me. Also, if you are a YouTuber and you don't have one of these remotes, you're missing out big time. All right, we're back. There we go. Got to go. Appreciate it. I appreciate y'all coming. I'm going to make this thing right to about an hour, so I got a couple more minutes. Mechanics video, it's coming, Gary. I'm telling you, it's coming. You guys are going to be underwhelmed. I think a little bit. There's an element of something that you just can't. Some things are and require so much that they're more than just like a one-off YouTube video. You're just not going to get the depth that you need to be able to really understand it, and for me to create a kind of a meaningful thing. So I'm gonna have to be really intentional about creating that thing, getting out on the field, making it good, not making it look like I shot it with my, iPhone 6 or something like that. So Super Bowl pick, Dustin, you got to come back tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. We're talking Super Bowl picks. I'm really excited for this thing. I know everybody watching is excited. My biggest fear is that this thing is just a dud. Like, to me, I feel like it has the vibe that it's going to turn sideways and sour, and I hope it doesn't. I will tell you that I think for me, I usually 98% of the time pick the best quarterback to win. That's just how I roll when I do picks. I just think it makes my decisions easier. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're always right. It's just intuitively how I roll. But for me, this almost feels like the better team, full holistic team, is the Niners. And the best quarterback is not on the Niners. And so now I'm a little confused. And so I don't know. I'm going to think about it one more day. I'm going to talk about it tomorrow, kind of in depth with the members live stream. So if you're interested, check it out. Again, I really appreciate y'all coming over. I'm really excited the technology worked. Crazy, 1 hour. We're going to be able to do this a lot more. I'm going to try to do my absolute best to do it a lot more. So again, I appreciate y'all spending time. 125 people watching this thing. Crazy to me. It's been a lot of fun for me as we get better and better at this, be able to get a little bit better, get more questions in, all sorts of good stuff. Yeah, I remember Zach Woodfin. Brad, what up, Brad? Appreciate that support. Where was I with Zach Woodfin? Maybe Minnesota? Either way, that's an hour. I got to go eat something or I'm about to fall out. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, tomorrow, live stream, members, hit the join button, make it happen. Thank you again for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you next time.